Hey, good morning. This is Charlie Pankey here, Rec Magazine. Welcome back. Got a question for you. Every year, did you know there's over a billion birds that migrate along the Pacific Flyway? That's a vast little aerial superhighway, if you will, that stretches from the Arctic to South America. And right in the heart of all of it is Plumas County in California. Now, Plumas County is one of the richest birding areas of the Sierra and Northern Sierra region. It sits where Lake Almanor is at, Lake Davis. We've got several different meadows in the area, but it's a huge section of the Sierra, and it's one of the richest bird populations that we get to see in the West Coast. Lake Almanor is also the home to the Grebe Festival. And today I'm really excited. My guest, Liz Ramsey, is from the Plumas County Audubon Society, and we're going to be talking about the Grebe Festival, the birding culture in Northern California, and just how we as recreational stewards of the land work and operate and get to see these amazing birds. Hopefully she has some great inserts on a number of birds we can see. And we're going to be talking about the Western and Clark Grebes and some of their, maybe we'll talk about mating rituals, whatever it is. So, but Liz, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Charlie. Happy to be here.
I have been to Lake Almanor many times. I've been up there in May and June, and I see the grebes, dancing across the water, and they kind of rise up, and kind of stream across the water, and they obviously diving for the fish and stuff. I thought maybe we'd start today and let you kind of introduce yourself and your position with the Plumas Audubon Society, and then we can kind of jump in and tell people about this event that's coming out August 8th and 10th at Plumas.
Sounds great. My name is Liz Ramsey. I'm the executive director of Plumas Audubon Society. Our office is here in Quincy, California, but we work all throughout the upper Feather River watershed, so pretty much everywhere from Lake Almanor to the north and Sierra Valley to the east. And yeah, it's a beautiful place to work and to be. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be a part of the organization and be working with wildlife throughout the northern Sierra Nevada, where we have such a rich diversity of wildlife to steward.
Yeah, there's so many different types of birds and wildlife in the region. Do you have any idea of like how many different types of like birds come through Plumas County in a season, or I know there's difference between mountain lakes and lake birds, but
Yeah, we have over 300 bird species here, and many of which are rare and threatened species. So it's a really rich place, and that's, a lot of people think of our organization as a bird club, but we do a lot more than just birds, and that's because the other wildlife species are also really abundant. So we have tons of different ungulates, of course, pronghorn, mule deer, elk. We have culturally significant salmonid species and endemic and endangered amphibians and reptiles, which our organization's been working with as well. So, yeah,
that's
there's
great to
plenty
know.
of wildlife here. Yeah.
Well, see, there's good education for myself too. I thought this, I was one of those ones that thought, well, this is a birding culture, so this is what you guys did. So that makes a little sense, a little more complete wildlife food chain. I guess it's all related in some fashion there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in August, you guys have a big festival in Plumas County. You get the Grebe Festival up there. You want to share a little bit of details about this year's event here up front of the Grebe Festival, and then we can kind of jump into more specifics on wildlife.
Absolutely. So our organization's been hosting this event since 2016. I started with the organization in 2019. So when I started, I was really excited to bring the Grebe Festival back. So in 2022, we had a 1-day festival. In 2023, we had a 2-day festival. Last year, we had a 3-day festival. And then this year, we have another 3-day festival coming up. And it will
That's
be
great.
located at Plumas Pines Resort in Prattville at 3000 Almanor Drive West. Right now, some of our boat tours are filling up. So after listening to this, anybody who's interested, I recommend you go check out those boat tours because they're really one of the big highlights of the festival. We take people out on pontoon boats to the locations where grebes are nesting in large colonies. And we also have some kayak tours planned. And There will be other bird walks. We actually have some interesting other activities this year. We have something called dragonfly oding, which is basically going out and doing the bird watching equivalent of watching dragonflies, as well
Yeah, that's
as
very
we
cool.
have yoga this year. um, and some other really cool things like that, some nature journaling. So there's a lot more than just birds. Just like our organization, there's a lot for anybody of any age to do.
That's fantastic. The dragonflies attract me. I love doing that in the mountain lakes when we go backpacking in the mountains and you'll see the dragonflies on the shores. I think of Echo Lake in Yosemite National Park. There's a huge dragonfly population there. And we'll sit on the shore and sit in the grass and watch the dragonflies and try to count how many are on a strand of grass. I know when I go to Lake Almanor, that west bank there has the Lake Almanor trail, so you can go down and there's lots of places you can get to the beach. You know, every time I'm there, the grebes seem to be very prominent on the lake. Do they are they on all shores of the lake, or do they kind of hover on that west edge because that's where the reeds are at, or do they have a favorite side of the lake? I guess I'd ask.
Yeah, so earlier in the season, they're everywhere, and I think that's true throughout the season that there's grebes all over the lake. But if you want to see a large number of grebes, you got to find where they're nesting, and that tends to be just kind of like off First Ave near Chester, where there's a lot of the vegetation just south of the causeway, as well as a great spot. And then in some years, even what we call Goose Bay, right there where the highway is right up against the lake, where it just recently burned. That area is also sometimes a
Yeah, I
really
see
good
a
place
lot of
to
them in
see a
that
large
region there.
number.
Absolutely. I've actually pulled my car over there before and walked down there at that little section. I see them down there quite a bit. In the festival, if they hatch their young in their now like young families, or is this kind of right around the season where they're starting to hatch and stuff? Or what time of year? Why August? What's August especially for the festival?
Yeah, so grebes tend to have variable nesting success on Lake Almanor. Last year, we were lucky enough to have a number of chicks for people to view, which was amazing. But I think the reason, behind hosting it in August is to kind of show the 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 boon or the bust, right, of grebe nesting. So some years we have entire failures, like entire abandonment of nests, and some years we have chicks. So, advocacy is
Wow.
really behind the goal of the Grebe Festival, and taking people out to see the birds is one big goal, but another goal is to show them the reality of the plight of grebes nesting on Lake Almanor. And so, fingers crossed for chicks, but it isn't looking likely that this year we will have many chicks, which allows us to tell that story a little better and
Oh yeah,
gain
a little
some
different
support
different
for our work.
perspective. Well, that actually brings me kind of another question I had for you. We our show, we're Sierra Rec Magazine. We're a bunch of hikers, fishermen. We're talking about getting out and enjoying outdoors all the time. And in Plumas County, when I think about the eagles at Lake Davis. I think about the grebes at Lake Almanor. Obviously, there's fishing all over the Feather River Basin and stuff like that. When you think about folks that get outdoors and go hiking and fishing in the region, what what would you like to invite them to know about you know wildlife and our place in not only watching and experiencing wildlife, but kind of what we should be thinking about while we're out there recreating around them?
Yeah. I think it's really important to be alert to signage and different buoys and exclusion zones, which I don't like the word exclusion, but I guess it's more of a science term
Yeah.
that I'm thinking of. Is we put a lot of effort into putting up signage, into putting up buoys to keep folks from pulling right up in their boat and knocking grebes off the nest. And I don't think people ever really intend to do such a thing, but grebes are extremely sensitive to not only changing habitat conditions, but also wake from your jet ski, or disturbance that you might cause by going too close. And a lot of the times we want to look at things and enjoy them, but we don't realize the damage that we're causing the potential offspring or the nest itself. The minute that grabes off that nest, a gull could fly right in. And as scientists out there observing them, we often run into this and had to kind of find that happy medium. And that's, just specific to grebes. But I think just generally, like, leave no trace. Everything that you do has has an impact, and the less impact that we can make while we're out, recreating and enjoying wildlife, the better. Try
Yeah.
to leave it better than you found it, and also think about, the way that your impact or your use might have an effect on your future generations, your kids, your grandkids' ability to enjoy those same things. I think that's, just general rule of thumb in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't help but thinking about this last year. There seemed to be this overwhelmingly world support for the bald eagles down in Bear Lake. Right, they were watching these two bald eagles have their their nest, the eggs, and they've been following these birds. So there's big overwhelming support for it. And I as I was preparing for the show, I was kind of thinking about that a little bit. How do we, now translate that love for what we got to witness and see for our real world in our home backyards, right? So as you're going to Lake Almanor or Lake Davis or Sierra Valley or here in Lake Tahoe, even, as you're out recreating, you see wildlife. How do we now look at it differently? How do we understand that there's a circle of life going on with the birds? Like I said, you scare them out of their nest, and all of a sudden a gull comes in and gets the eggs or whatever their predator is. It's not something I think about much in hiking. I'm always just observing and kind of, oh, that's cool. Take a picture. And I walk on, but we do have impact no matter what we're doing. Correct. Right. So I know in Bear Valley, they're talking about fireworks, etc. For the birds, but are there things right now in the county that you guys are working on that would be cool to know about from a, maybe there's a problem area that you're working on that we could, help bring awareness to, or is there a success that's going on that you guys have finished that you'd like to highlight or share?
Yeah, great question. Right now, well, I guess for some context, our organization since 2010 partnered with Audubon, California, so kind of like our parent organization, and
Yeah.
basically did a full 10-year study in partnership with other chapters of 4 Northern California lakes. So Lake Almanor, Eagle Lake, Antelope Lake, and Lake Davis. And then when that funding expired, we kept monitoring at Lake Almanor. So we have a pretty strong data set there. And just recently, about 2 years ago, got back to monitoring Antelope and Lake Davis. And then this year we got some support from Lassen County Resource Advisory Council to start monitoring at Eagle Lake again. So we're back to monitoring all 4 lakes.
Great.
And that's exciting. And so what we've, kind of learned from the 10-year study is that Almanor is a really critical place for grebes. It's, where the majority of our Northern California grebes use as a breeding ground. And they've had some pretty poor success. I mean, to have thousands of birds laying eggs, 2 to 3 eggs on thousands of nests, and then to only have 50 or so or 100 chicks is still pretty poor
Wow.
success, although it feels
Yeah.
good when you see the chicks. So what
Yeah.
we've decided to do with the support of what's called the Curry's Divestment Trustee Council, which basically takes oil spill remediation funds. So when an oil spill happens, there's a settlement, and that settlement's distributed to folks who are working on birds in their breeding grounds. So we are
Okay.
those folks. And they're supporting a pilot study that's on its 3rd year this year. We have 1 year after this year as well. And we have constructed artificial nesting platforms that float out in Lake Almanor and have a dual anchor system. So they have kind of like a pulley system with 2 anchors. And there's some
Oh.
buoys out there too. And we're kind of supplementing them with some vegetation to make them more appealing to grebes. And then we put some decoys out there as
Okay.
well. And the goal is to encourage the grebes in low water years to nest on the platforms so that when the reservoir elevation drops, which it tends to do during the peak of their breeding season, that those platforms provide them some stability and some support, so those nests don't break off and get pushed onto shore, and that hopefully that can provide support so that they can get to the point of finishing incubating their eggs and hatching their eggs and having chicks. And so, yeah, we're on our
Okay.
3rd year of this, and um, it's been a learning process, and we've been working with
Yeah.
PG&E to do this effort. But the past 2 years, there's just been really high water, and the grebes aren't building out in the open water the way they typically do, building nests out in open water. So the platforms were not used the past 2 years, but I have a feeling that
Hmm.
this year we might get some success.
They might get done. That makes sense. I remember this is almost probably 17 years ago. I remember camping at Eagle Lake, and they had built platforms for the I want to say it was for the falcons at that point, up platforms up in these trees and stuff. And I know they were, kind of, I don't know if they're getting started, but there were, a lot of talk about whether there'd be a nest on certain platforms or not. So, I imagine birds are a little bit picky sometimes when they pick locations. Is that right?
Yeah, those sound like osprey, and I've seen that happen
That's what it
around
was,
Lake
is the
Almanor as
osprey.
well. Yeah, folks have built
Did it?
platforms for
Okay, I
osprey
didn't know
around Lake
that. Very good.
Almanor. Yeah, but they are picky for sure, and that's why we've been using
Yeah.
the decoys, because we're trying to kind of use this concept of social attraction, which is used in a lot of wildlife research. We also have a call box
Okay.
that plays their call, but we haven't employed that call box just because the past 2 years they've been not needing our platforms. But
I
this year
gotcha.
they may.
Very good. Well, it's a big lake. That's got to be kind of a big project to take on and figure out the right locations and right timing. And I'm assuming that's where the data comes from, right? All the data you're collecting, you probably have, helps you guys with, getting programs like this set up to be successful.
Yep, we're out there at least, at the most 3 times a week, at least once a week, as soon as they arrive to until they leave, collecting information like how many adults are there, what different species are there. So there's Western and Clark's grebes. We're, taking note of their behavior, the number of nests they've built, what they built their nests out of, the size of their nesting colony. We're out there collecting a lot of data by kayak and sometimes by boat,
Okay.
depending on the
Okay.
point of the survey.
That's great. So besides man and the damage we do with our, boats or the interactions that we have, what is the biggest predator for the grebes up there? I mean, is it other birds, or is there a fish? What's their predator world look like?
Yeah, predation isn't something that we see a lot of.
Okay.
They tend to dive under the water and they're pretty intelligent birds. But when it comes to reservoir elevation dropping and nests being left high and dry, then it comes into predation from chicks. I mean, sorry,
Okay.
from gulls eating the nests. So that tends to be
Gotcha.
the biggest concern.
Interesting. And so with the Lake Almanor being part of the Pacific Flyway, maybe you could help people understand that flyway a little bit more too. Um, you know, that's got to be, when water's low enough, I guess that'd be when more gulls are, and they probably interact. I don't know. Do they interact more? Do gulls stick around all year long, or are they migratory as well? Because I know Mono Lake has a big gull population.
Yeah, Lake Almanor has a pretty rich gull population, and I wouldn't say that I've paid enough attention to them to know when they're more abundant, but I do feel like
Okay.
when there is a number of eggs available to eat, there's a lot of gulls hanging around.
There's a lot of
Um,
gulls.
yeah, they'll just be picking the eggs off. I've got some pictures of that in the past, but yeah, the
Gotcha.
Pacific Flyway, I think, and all the different flyway kind of, you look up flyways, you see like the Mississippi Flyway. I feel like I've heard a lot of wildlife biologists speak to the fact that, like, while those are helpful terms for us as humans to use to understand bird movement, that the birds
Uh
are
huh.
are not just following this one highway.
Okay.
There's different paths all over the continent, but I would say that it is true for grebes that we are in a really particular spot, and same thing for something like Sierra Valley. Both Sierra Valley and Lake Almanor are Audubon certified or recognized
Yeah.
important bird areas just for that purpose, that they're critical stopover sites for both wintering and breeding birds. Yeah, Lake
Yeah,
Almanor
I've
is a
had
pretty
the
cool
Sierra
place.
Valley group on the show before. We've talked a lot about, the meadow there and the importance of the Feather River watershed and the wildlife. A lot of people, if you're listening to the show the first time, the Sierra Valley, if you look back historically, once a gigantic lake bed, right? So, giant lake area. So now it's a, more meadow, but it's the start of the Feather River. What is the Sierra Valley? Maybe an hour south of Lake Almanor?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe an hour and 20 minutes, hour 40 minutes.
Yeah, and they have the Indian Valley in between. A birding zone. You got lots of meadows, mountain rivers, and stuff. A lot of food rich resources in there for the birding population. So I can see why it'd be a great home for them.
And a shameless plug on our website, plumasaudubon.org, we have a Plumas County birding guide. So it goes through all of the different birding hotspots and has plenty of information about what birds you might see. And the first one we have on there is Sierra Valley, and the second is Lake
See,
Almanor, because
you're reading my
they're those
notes, Liz. That's my
biodiversity
next question. 'Cause I was
hotspots in
going to
our
bring up
region, but it
your
does
10
dive
amazing
deeper into
locations
other
on your
areas.
bird guide. Gotcha.
Oh,
Liz and I
whoops.
are experiencing a little bit of a delay in our internet, which will be fine. You won't know it. But I was gonna say you're reading my mind because my next question was about your bird guide online, Liz. You guys highlight 10 locations, including Bucks Lake, Indian Valley. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff on there. Yeah, a lot of our readers are photographers. Obviously, they go out in their kayaks or go hiking and stuff. What are some underused radar spots that you would send birders to in your county? Where should people go to take some great pictures or see some bird and wildlife?
Yeah, so I love French. I'm not sorry, Frenchman Lake. I do like that too, but Antelope Lake, Antelope Lake can be an amazing place to go birding, and you get some more of those
Yeah,
high elevation species. I really enjoy that place. And then there's hiking, there's kayaking, there's boating. There's a lot to do there. And then
yeah,
I would
Antelope
also
Lake's great.
say, just to kind of dive deeper than like than one of like the larger places. I'd say like right here in Quincy, if anybody is listening from Quincy,
Yeah,
I feel like more people should be using Dell's Pond, which is owned by Feather River College and right here in town, and has just some amazing diversity, that you can just walk right to if you're in the area, if you want to grab lunch and go to Dell's Pond. And it could really, use some love as well. And I see that being one of our future projects,
that'd
is
be
putting
good.
some love into that place. But it's a great spot with year-round wildlife. And then another thing people don't often consider is the sewage treatment ponds. It's funny, but those places are really good for birding. I know it sounds crazy, but it has great birds.
Yeah, I don't doubt it would. I would not think about it myself as a recreation spot.
I
That's pretty
know,
good.
but
So let me ask you this question from. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I know it doesn't sound like the greatest place to be, but if you want to see a lot of birds, that water is warm, and there are so many great birds there all year round, because in the winter, like, they have nowhere else to go. So I mean, they have places to
Yeah,
be, but everything is mostly frozen.
no, I get it. I live in Mendon, Nevada, and our housing subdivision sits right behind the ponds out there, and I can hike out there with my dog, and there's birds everywhere, everything from eagles to hawks to you know chickadees, everything's out there. So, uh, let me ask you this, Liz, from your perspective, of being somebody who loves the wildlife in the area and the birding culture, especially, is there a um uh, let's see, a bird or a wildlife creature in the area that people just don't talk about enough that you think is just pretty awesome?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked. Um, I would say that Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frogs need more love and
Mm,
attention, and more people should know about them. And I'd like to share with you what our organization's doing with Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frogs.
please.
We've been working for mm, 20, say in 2019, I started here, and I think the organization had just started working on this project. So math, like 6 years, 7 years now.
Oh,
We've been working in partnership with the Plumas National Forest to monitor Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frogs just north of Antelope Lake, on a creek called Lone Rock
okay.
Creek. And the Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frog is critically endangered. It's federally listed species,
Hmm.
and it has populations all throughout the Sierra Nevada, but the one that we study is the northernmost population of frogs. And
Okay.
just just recently, so our surveys entail like snorkeling and looking for egg masses and tadpoles. And then those tadpoles and egg masses, if discovered, can be taken to the San Francisco Zoo to be reared in captivity and released back into the wild, because they
Oh,
just have so many natural predators out there. And so up until last year, or 2023 actually, we had not found a single egg mass or like large number of tadpoles, and the population was estimated to be between 8 and 10 individuals. So really, really dire. And then in
wow.
2023, we found 46 tadpoles, took them to the zoo, raised them, and released them out into the wild, almost, quadrupling the population. And that, it's not to say that 50
Yeah.
frogs is still a good number. But that kind of conservation success story happening right here in Plumas County, I feel like needs a little bit more attention. And, frogs being indicators of water quality and our own health as a society and as a, organism, I feel like is overlooked quite a bit. We're not talking bullfrogs. We're talking, flowing cold mountain water stream frogs that really
Yeah.
have some habitat requirements that are important. So I'd
Yeah.
say that
I was
frogs.
just backpacking in Yosemite, and I know that's part of the you said in the northern part, you guys are part of it's kind of the same frog system, but we were at a lake that they had taken the fish out to do frog habitat. So we spent a good portion of time looking for them, but we never found them. It was like I wanted to see a frog, but we were in the middle of the afternoon too. It wasn't the right time. So uh, but I appreciate that work, though. I did not know that they actually were part of Plumas County, that northern section. So that's brand new information to me. And I applaud your guys' work. That's really cool. I hope that population gets much larger than 50.
Me too.
Because I know when I first started doing study, people don't understand the quality, the whole, you know, I call it food chain. That's the wrong word to use, but it's a keystone species. That does a lot of really positive things for our water systems. And so it's really important that they are around, and it's good that we discovered that. Now we can work on it. But cool. Well, Liz, you're gonna be surprised. We're already up our half hour, and I don't want to quit our show without you having an opportunity to invite volunteers or people to take action and be part of your program. Wonder if you could take a few moments to tell people how they can get involved and support and learn more about ways to be part of the society or the work you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks so much for that opportunity. I invite everybody, not just people here in Quincy. We tend to have a lot of Quincy members, but we want to expand our organization and broaden our organization to all parts of Northern California, and that takes involvement from listeners like you. So we would love if you would consider joining our organization by becoming a member. We have a sliding scale donation kind of set up, so it's not like an annual $50. It's just give what you can, or be involved, and that makes you a member as well. So we often need volunteers to help us at events and to help us teach students in the classrooms for our education program, or to extra hands out in the field. So the more we know about what you're interested in doing, the better we can place you in a place where you feel happy to do some work with us. So come to the Grebe Festival. Come check us out at our office in Quincy. Just get to know Plumas Audubon Society, because we're here to work together as a community to protect wildlife throughout our region, and we want you to be a part of it. So I really appreciate that opportunity.
I like it. Yeah, absolutely. Now I've got two more things here. I got a real quick sponsor piece I want to run real quick, and then I have 3 personal outdoor questions for you. You gonna hang on for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, very good. All right, folks, you guys all know that we love the Carson Valley, our homeland. Can't do anything without them. Please just go to a short little clip here from the Carson Valley, our homeland for all of our adventures, base camp for everything we do. And I did this last week too. I just am having the hardest time with technology, folks. There we go. Sorry, Carson Valley. Come enjoy the open space. We have a lot of I'm going to say the what do you Liz, you call them the Raptors? You got the Eagles, the Hawks, the Falcons. We have a lot of that in our valley, along with birds. So is that the owls? A lot of the predator birds, I guess, are in our valley. So, but thank you, Carson Valley, for everything you do for us, and we're happy to have you on part of the show. So, Liz, I end my show with 3 personal questions every week. They're kind of fun questions, but they're just kind of get to know you a little bit for your outdoors. So, the first question is: let's pretend your bag is packed behind you, and you get to go out and play in the Sierra someplace this weekend. Where are you going and why?
Where am I going? I think I have my map on my wall.
Oh, there you go. I like it.
Not to be cliche, but I think I'm going to Lake Almanor. And that's because I want to go see Grebes.
There you go. That works. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
That's not just a plug for my work. That's actually how I feel.
Yeah, a day at Lake Almanor is a good day, man. Nothing wrong with that. So, after a day of working with the birds or out collecting tadpoles and doing frog research, I'm a foodie afterwards. I get hiker hunger when I'm hiking. Is there a go-to place in Quincy for food that you want to rave about real quick? What's the go-to food source?
So recently, Rico's has put a food truck in Quincy, but they're based out of Portola, and that's some really, really good food here. But I would say my favorite place ever in the county to eat is gotta be Cuchia's. And
Cuchillas. I have never eaten
yeah, it's
there.
in like, or no, it's Cucha's. My bad. It's in.
Cuchillas.
I
Okay.
think it's in like Blairsden or Graygle is what it would be.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. I'm gonna try that out next time. I haven't been there, so I make an annual stop at the Brewers Lair coming through, but that's about it.
It's
Very good.
very good.
And then finally, we're all gearheads somehow, right? We all take a piece of gear. I'm a map guy everywhere we go. When you go out in the field, what piece of gear do you never leave the office without?
I wish I could say I never leave the office without it, but I would
Yeah.
aim to never leave the office without my telephoto lens to do wildlife photography with.
Nice, nice. I bet you have some amazing photos, being able to be out there in the lake and doing the research stuff like that. So, probably too much office work and not enough time in the field for you. Is that pretty common?
That's very true. Yes, there's never enough time in the field.
All right. Unfortunately, the internet, I think, got us on that one. I'm not sure we got all that. Luckily, folks, here's what you don't know is that we're recording this, so we'll have two devices. We'll be able to build this together. It's been a little bit awkward for Liz and I today because we really can't see each other. We're recording this with some low internet bandwidth. But we do hope you enjoyed the show. Ask you to go ahead and check out the Plumas Audubon Society online. It's a great opportunity to see the Grebe Festival information coming up. It's a great opportunity to see volunteer opportunities and all the things we're working on. Part of being an outdoor recreation person, just knowing what is in the area that we're working at, what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, what's going on in the area with our nature. So make sure you're involved in that. So we want to thank you so much for being part of the show today. Join us again next week for another show. If you like it, share it, leave a comment down below, share it with your friends. It really helps us out. So subscribe. We got a show every Tuesday. We got our summer guide, Sierra Magazine summer guide coming out next month in July 31st. And we hope you have a blessed day wherever you're at. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you again next week.